So welcome. It's lovely to see so many people, and it's really lovely to see the children in the stable because, of course, that's what Jesus would have wanted. It's not somewhere that's separate, somewhere that's just for Christmas and just to look at. It's something to be part of. So please don't worry if your children are in there. It's absolutely lovely. So today we celebrate the holy name of Jesus and his circumcision. And it's quite a good day because we're also celebrating Matteo and giving him his name today, as he is a symbol of him joining God's family. And of course Jesus, the name Jesus was given before he was even conceived. I don't know about Matteo when his name came about. I was nearly an Angela, so I'm glad that things, can change. But obviously for Jesus they didn't. He was prophesied, he was foretold. And the day that Jesus received his name, it was significant because Jesus means the Lord is salvation. So it was more than just his name. It was the name that was going to mean so much to all of humankind from then on in. Matteo's name's been chosen for him, and it will be an important part of who he is when he grows up. Maybe nicknames, maybe shortened. Our names are labels, they are what label us, but in Jesus it's not just a label, it points us to who Jesus is. The Saviour, the one who delivers, the one who rescues us, leads us to freedom, and ultimately, if we choose it, to a different way of life. So the two readings were all about new starts. The return from the exile. The Jewish people had been exiled, a bit of a shock. They didn't quite think that was ever going to happen because, they were God's chosen people, but they were. But God was bringing them back. But actually, he was bringing them back to hard work. They had to rebuild Jerusalem. They had to rebuild the temple. The shepherds were chosen to be the first to visit Jesus. And they went off rejoicing and sharing. And today we celebrate the new life of Matteo. And we rejoice and share in his special day. And it was a new name. And through the Bible, people got new names. Abraham became Abraham, Sarai became Sarah, Saul became Paul, Simon Peter became Peter. And as we give Matteo his name at the font, it's a joyful time as we welcome him to this new step in his life. I've got a different version of the reading that we had, just because I thought it was a bit nicer. So I'll just read it quickly. So this is the reading of the Isaiah reading. Regarding Zion, I can't keep my mouth shut. Regarding Jerusalem, I can't hold my tongue, until her righteousness blazes down like the sun and her salvation flames up like a torch. I will sing for joy in God, explode in praise from deep in my soul. He dressed me up in a suit of salvation. He outfitted me in a robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom who puts on a tuxedo and a bride a jeweled tiara. For as the earth bursts with spring wildflowers and as a garden cascades with blossoms, so the Master, God, brings righteousness into full bloom and puts praise on display before the nations. Foreign countries will see your righteousness and world leaders your glory. You'll get a brand new name straight from the mouth of God. You'll be a stunning crown in the palm of God's hand, a jeweled gold cup held high in the hand of your God. No more will anyone call you rejected, and your country will no more be called ruined. You will be called Hephzibah, my delight, and your land Beulah, married, because God delights in you like a wedding celebration. For as a young man marries his virgin bride, so your builder marries you. And as a bridegroom is happy in his bride, so your God is happy in you. So today, as we celebrate Matteo's baptism, we know that God delights in him like in a wedding celebration, as he delights in all of us, which is really remarkable. And Christmas really is another step in the journey of this joyful journey with God. So we have the joyful celebration of the returning exiles, the joyful message of the angels, the joyful visit of the shepherds, the joyful passing on of what they'd seen, and joyful Mary. So what we have really is a joyful faith. Sometimes we perhaps don't show that in quite the way that we should. But really, that's the message, it's joy. And of course, we share that with others. And the nativity that we had on Christmas Eve was an important part of that. I don't know how anybody ever made talks without Facebook, But anyway, I found a few good things on Facebook, and it said, Jesus isn't part of the Christmas story. Christmas is part of Jesus' story. And that's what we need to remember, that the story of Jesus doesn't begin and end with Christmas, but goes on through many parts of Jesus' life and affects ours. So, today is an important part in Matteo and his family's life journey. So the nativity, we have got some pictures. We can't really see them, but there's our very own elf. Not very clear. I think someone took them without a flash. Very atmospheric, though. So we had a lovely time, and we haven't actually counted the money, but probably last year we raised about £200 for the Children's Society through the school and through the offering that we took. So that was a really lovely, lovely time. Yeah. And then, of course, we had our church fundraising target of £2,000, which we exceeded with about 2,300, which is really, really good. So we have been part of this joyful sharing, the joy with others and helping others. And part of our joy, part of our faith should come from that. Should come from sharing the good news of Jesus, but also sharing what we have. And, we all have quite a lot. And it's important that we can share that with others. So if we're part of a joyful story, then it's important that we show that we show that joy. What's the next thing, David? £10 challenge? So the £10 challenge was the other thing that our church undertook this year, which was to raise money to pay towards our share, which is what we're supposed to pay towards having Philip and having other vicars and retired people and all sorts of things. And so far we've raised £1,400 towards that and still counting. So hopefully that will be a good thing as well. So again, it's part of the joy, celebrating that joy we have as being part of this bigger church. So in the new year, we're going to set ourselves a new target to share the joy with other people. So if anybody has any ideas of what they'd like to raise money for, then please do let us know, because we're very flexible. We've raised money for things like air ambulance, shelter, Red Cross, the Lantern, Children's Society, Lucy's trip to Nepal and her work with the village there. Anything else? Alzheimer's. Toilet twinning. We successfully twinned 2 toilets. So our toilet here and the toilet at the vicarage now have a twin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which provides, a safe, hygienic place for people to go to the toilet, which we take for granted, but actually, many people don't have that. So last year, we sent a big box of bits and pieces to a charity in Greece called the Plataria Link Refugee and Destitute Children's Charity. And the school helped us collect that, and it was toys and school things and shoes and all sorts of stuff.
And it was 40 kilos.
50 kilos, 50, actually, yeah. And we sent that off. It was interesting when we had the delivery thing that said, we will not help you take it to the van. It was a bit of a worry, but I think they did in the end, so it was okay. And that was distributed to Syrian refugees who were living in Greece and Albania. So this year, our fundraising effort, our first one of the year, is going to be to collect and send children's shoes to be distributed to children in Albania who live and work in rubbish dumps. So here, I like shoes. I have to say, my new shoes here from the sales, these are the most expensive shoes in the world, apparently. How much? I think they're pretty hideous myself, but how much do you think they are? 300,000? 11 million. I know. I don't know. But I don't think you could pay me 11 million to wear them. Yeah, they do look like gingerbread, don't they? But no, apparently 11 million pounds of 11 million pounds worth of shoes there. And it also said if you have more than 5 pairs of shoes in your wardrobe, you're a shoe person. But I don't agree with that. I think 5's about the minimum that you need, really. But we all actually have probably loads of shoes. Maybe shoes that we wear once or twice a year, shoes that we bought thinking they're a good idea and never wore. and about 300 million people in the world don't have shoes. And this has lots of different results, really. It can stop people going to school. In some places, children aren't allowed to go to school if they don't have shoes. Of course, there's a lack of dignity. Why haven't you got any shoes? It shows maybe a low status. And of course, it's dangerous. You know, you imagine what it's like not wearing shoes on the beach. You're always worried you're going to tread on a shell or a bit of glass or something. Or living your whole life without shoes. So children that are forced to live and work on rubbish dumps in Albania, they really do face these problems. You know, this is where they live, this is where they work, and many of them don't have shoes. So you can imagine how horrible it is anyway. So hopefully the shoes that we collect will go to make an awful job, an awful life for those children, just a little bit less awful. And while we do that, we can share the joy that we have of sharing what God has given us. So we're going to collect over January any children's shoes, new or second-hand are okay, as long as they're, reasonable. Children's shoes, but of course, some children have bigger feet than others. So I reckon, up to about size 5 is children's shoes. So it's quite good, because I only have to pay children's shoe rates for my shoes. But, the odd pair of bigger ones, maybe for, children with bigger feet, especially maybe boys. So if you could start bringing them to church through January, and then we'll send them off in February. So perhaps next time you're in town in the charity shops, and you see a little pair of trainers that you think they're cute, I don't have anyone that they'll fit, maybe buy them alongside with what you buy. Something like that. Maybe have a rummage at home. Obviously, the kind of shoes, the gold ones, are not the ones we're looking for. But these sort of ones, trainers, wellies, just to give these children a little bit of a better start in life. So as we think about the joy of Christmas, we think about the joy of the return of the exiles, we think about the joy that Jesus' life can bring to us, let's think about the joy that we can bring to others. And as a start this year, we're going to show that through providing shoes for this charity in Albania.